When Hitler came to Austria, which was March 15, 1938, I was in high school, graduating in June. That was March. I was 3 more months in high school. So when Hitler came, all the Jewish children had to be taken to one particular school. We couldn't go be with the non-Jewish children. So that was the only bad thing that happened so far. And I did not live in a Jewish neighborhood, so I did not see everything that were going on already at the time. People were arrested, walking in the streets, men only, and taken away with unknown places. And so I never saw that much of that. We still continued our store until the Kristallnacht. Everything was the same, even for me. I had my piano lessons, and then everything stopped that day. Growing up, I did heard about the Nazis. I didn't pay much attention to it. You know, a kid having fun. I didn't think about it. People talked about it. It was close, you know. It started in 1933. But I didn't pay that much attention till the Anschluss. Then you really know what was happening. There were newspapers sold, the Jews to blame, and funny pictures with noses selling in the street. Papers, you know. And then another thing came up, Jews and dogs are not allowed to come into the park. So I was telling this to my son Alan. My sister and I played at the cemetery. We jumped over graves and had picnics on it to get to a park. So that was my outing, the cemetery, when the Jews were not allowed to go to the big parks in Vienna, which are famous. Kristallnacht started November 15th. At that time, I was going to a trade school to learn sewing. My mother suggested I should learn some kind of a trade. So I came out of the school, but that school was in a Jewish neighborhood. So when that happened, all we heard news that all the temples are burning in the whole city. They threw the books out, burned them and shared them. Even the temple I went to was burned to the ground. The only temple left was the temple in the inner city where my parents got married. It's still there now. That survived. Would you believe it? Restrictions were done daily. Something came up. All Jews have to report, bring their silver in. Silver dishes, plates have to be brought in. But that's when we started considering shipping our furniture to America. That comes next. So my mother decided this is the time to get the furniture out. We didn't have our visa yet. That's a separate story, how we got that. We didn't register in time at the consulate. The smart people, right after Hitler, went to the consulate and registered. They went by registration. When the war broke out in 1939, in September, all men, Jews, between age of 18 and 50, had to report to the Gestapo, supposedly to rebuild the roads in Poland at the border. So he got his suitcase, we took off, my father left, and reported. We didn't hear from him for weeks. We did hear from him finally. What happened was, when they got to the border, the Gestapo made them get out of the train, pulled guns on them, and he said, if I find anybody in 10 minutes, I'm shooting him dead. So he was very aggressive. He went with a neighbor over the border. It got into Galicia. So then we heard from him. So I don't know the details on that much. We were, in the meantime, getting here through my uncle, the doctor, who approached a man we never met, another doctor, to send an affidavit to my mother and my sister and me. And he said that my uncle told him, you'll never see these people. I just need an affidavit. And he did. He lived in Perth Amboy, New Jersey. And he sent us the affidavit and the ship ticket my uncle bought because every day counted. Hitler got into Norway then, and the borders were closing. It was rough. You didn't know if you're going to live tomorrow, if you know what I mean. So this is leading on to why we got out of Europe. And it was an interesting trip because I was seasick 8 days. When I got off the ship, I was so weak that I collapsed because I eat only apples the whole trip. No stabilizers. We got here, and my father is still in Europe, so we tried to get him here, you know what I mean? The war was on, Europe was closed. So my mother, I only know what I knew. There's maybe more to the story. She wrote a letter to the consulate in Moscow to please release him since the family is all in America. He had to go through Siberia. Europe was closed. Yokohama, Wie die later, I forgot to know that town. What is that town in?
Vladivostok.
Yeah, in Yokohama. And then we were in Brooklyn at the time, San Francisco, and take the train all the way to Brooklyn. That's what he did. And he had no clothes, and my cousin brought him clothes, and the people if he found in San Francisco, I don't know how he found them, people he knew from Vienna. They had a leather store, gave him clothes, and we were wonderful to see him. As I said, he was here about 6 weeks after coming from Europe. He was in a trolley car coming home, gets off the trolley car, was hit by a 19-year-old kid without insurance and killed after coming from Europe. And that was a tragic thing for all of us. My mother widowed at 49. I had to quit high school, go to work, get a job, and go to night school. It was rough. And all my friends I met that were from Europe had parents and sweet 16 parties, and I had nothing. Understand? So it was bad. But we were happy to be alive. I said, if I'd rather eat dry bread here than be poor than being Europe, right? During the Hitler regime, I personally lost actually 10 members of my family. My father lost 2 brothers, their wives, and total 3 children. And my cousin who's still living, she's 96 in New York, her mother. That was the immediate family, okay? And then 2 cousins, my mother's side. It was total 10. I must have developed a cold or a neglected cold, going the subway in and out. It went up into a sore throat and rash and all of a sudden chills and so forth. And they didn't know what it was first, and they thought it was spinal meningitis. So my uncle, the doctor, we had no money, got me to the Long Island College Hospital in a ward. I was there 6 weeks, and they gave me sulfur drugs. And they claimed the sulfur drug came out at the time, and that saved my life. So then the summer came, and we wanted to take a vacation, and my mom's cousin's husband knew this farmhouse in the Catskills, next to, not far from one of the big resorts, Grosinger, it was the other, Neverly, and all these places. So we decided it was $22 a week, all the food and the lodging. So we decided it'd be a nice place to relax after being sick. And I went with my mother and my sister there, and there I met my husband, who was there with his mother, sister, and that's it, I think, before going into service. So my mother said, look, there's a young guy there, why don't you talk to him? So he was at the river showing off his swimming. He was a good swimmer. He was on the swim team in high school. So I got talking to him. It was a nice conversation, and we became friendly, and he was ready to go out to war. Then we came back home, and I figured it's a summer romance. It'd be over, it'd be done. But then the letters came, letter after letter, okay? I wasn't engaged. He was mad because I didn't say goodbye to him when he was shipped off. Well, I was just a friend. I went with another boy before he went to the Navy. I wasn't engaged. He was just a friend. So the letters came, and then he took me out on furlough when he came in. So it was a summer romance that lasted 51 years.